just start the video with the mask and then it's like, oh yeah, it's wearing my, and then take the mask off. It's good. It's a really nice day. It's a little too nice. It was really hard to find a place where people weren't everywhere talking to record this. Wish I could have shown Jamison cherry blossom season in South Korea, springtime. Alright, so if you've been watching this series for a while, you know I went. If you've been watching this series for a while, you know I use a lot of music, and I'll put the name and artist in the bottom left corner of the screen. For this episode, good grief. For this episode, I'm going to be doing something kind of similar. A lot of the music I'm using is from games that were made by fans, and it's like MIDI versions of songs, and they might have been retitled something else. But oftentimes I first heard them in these games. So for this episode, I'm going to be putting the MIDI file name and the fan project, the unofficial game, where I first heard it in the bottom left. For a reason, because that's what the song kind of is to me in my brain. That's the context I have in my brain for those songs. I've heard them later in life elsewhere and realized what they're originally from, but I associate them with this scene from that game that some probably 16-year-old made on his computer. I'll properly credit the actual original songs, probably in the video description. Just wanted to let you know what was going on.
Oh no!
Sora, I'm on my way. I'll look after my team. You guys fight the Dark Youth. Remember to use the AR device to target the core.
I got it! Targeting. Try this! Kick. See ya! Heal! Thank you. Yeah.
Nice.
Baymax.
Oh, this isn't for you. At least, not until we're done.
Riku, is it you? Why do you look like that?
Looks are deceiving, but the heart? You know that it's me.
I know Riku wouldn't do this, not without a good reason.
A reason? When did that ever matter? We've been trying to one-up each other since we were kids.
What?
The coat means he's with Organization 13. And that means he's not really Riku.
Smarter than you look.
We defeated Ansem and Xehanort, every last one of them. But still, they all came back anyway, right? So, maybe this Riku came back too, from the time when Ansem possessed him.
Yeah, from the past.
What? How?
Unlike a certain wizard you know, I had to play by the rules to travel through time, which meant leaving my body behind.
Huh? I know about this. But you have a body.
Xehanort's heart left his body in order to voyage back through time. He needed to tell his younger self of the great plans he had in store. There in the past, his heart stayed and waited out the years until you and I came along. Xehanort's heart possessed me and became Ansem, the first adversary you faced. The rest of him, the piece he left behind, took the name Xemnas and created the first organization. It was all a part of a larger plan to bring Xehanort into contact with the right hearts, enough of them to form the real Organization 13. They could come from anywhere, any when, just as long as he had the right vessels at hand to place their hearts in.
Vessels?
Replicas.
That's right. The replica program was a success. We are as real as people.
Then pack up and leave. What are you still doing here?
To see if we can recreate a heart from data.
What?
Sorry. Did we steal your idea? That walking balloon over there has a heart. At least that's the nonsense I'm supposed to believe.
There are hearts all around us. You only have to see them for them to become real.
Where'd you get that? That's my chip. I made it.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. But I promise, I'll put it right back where I found it.
What do you mean?
I think I'll be getting back to work now.
Wait!
We gotta stop him! Guys! Huh?
You are all suffering from acute exhaustion. I recommend rest.
Yeah, you're right. Let's regroup.
Come on, guys! What's with all the long faces? Did you forget that we won?
Fred, Not now.
Huh?
His name is Riku? And you know him?
Yeah. Well, I know him.
That one is a fake.
The fake one's with Organization 13, our arch nemesis.
Okay, but how'd he get Hero's chip?
And what did he mean about an experiment?
And what do they want?
He said they're trying to recreate a heart from data. But I don't know what they really want. None of us do. These guys, they show up, and instead of fighting fair and square, they go for the heart and say things to try and get under your skin. They're cowards. And now they're doing it to you, too. It's our fault.
No. This could be good. That chip might finally be able to give me some answers.
You said that you made it, right?
Yeah, this Baymax, he's actually the second model. No offense.
I am a robot. I cannot be offended.
It's a long story, but the first Baymax and the chip I made vanished into another dimension along with the microbots. The chip's back. So the first Baymax might be back too.
Hiro.
Those who suffer a loss require support from friends and loved ones.
What was that?
I don't know.
Guys,
let's
come
go.
on!
Ah. Pete and Maleficent.
What?
Why are you snooping around?
That would be none of your concern.
Overstep, and darkness will consume you again.
What an interesting thing to say. I shall do anything I please. As should you.
Oh, I intend to.
Who's he? Friend of yours?
Yes, though I could not tell you from when.
San Fransokyo needs us. Come on, Sora. We gotta move. Those cubes are toast.
Someone has to stand up and protect the city, and that someone is us. We're gonna put an end to this once and for all. Sora, let's go.
The data indicates that we face the same enemy as before. However, unknown factors could alter the outcome. It is important to be prepared for all possibilities. Sora, take care to avoid injuries.
Can that really be the same thing we fought before? With you on the team, Sora, this'll be easy. Right? Please say right. Don't worry. We got this.
Oh yeah! I smell a last boss! I'm so ready for this. Come on, Sora! Come on! Come on!
Okay, you ready to battle the Dark Cubes? Okay.
Hope it's learned some new tricks.
Yeah, now it's gotta face all of us.
That's right.
Freddy want to destroy!
Our probability of success is...
You don't have to crunch the numbers, Baymax. It's not the sum of our parts. It's the sum of our hearts.
Yeah.
Which adds up to what? Show me. Almost there.
What?
This pile of junk collected the data we needed. The terror of being attacked without warning. The despair of having no place to run. The longing for vengeance.
A heart's more than that.
It's working together.
Smiling at something funny.
Trusting friends.
In every heart, there's hope.
Yes.
You're right.
Huh?
That's why I made sure our creation fought you. Now the data contains a complete heart.
A heart made from conflict? That can't be
What
real.
was it you said? I only have to see it for it to become real. So, let's see it.
Baymax.
First, we need a vessel.
What's going on?
Another dark cube form?
Doesn't look as bad as the last one.
It could be a trick.
Usually is.
We can stop it!
Yeah.
Wait! That's Baymax.
What? Huh? No way.
Baymax.
Don't bother. This puppet has lost his heart. He won't wake up.
He's not a puppet! Baymax is like my family. Please, give me back my friend.
Yes.
Huh?
I did promise I'd put this back where I found it. But there's one piece missing. Sora, you're the one who's going to complete this heart.
Yeah, right.
You can't have a heart without sadness, without loss. You see, you're going to destroy Hero's friend, right in front of him.
Wait!
Oh no.
Hero! Hero, tell us, what should we do?
Baymax means everything to me. But that chip isn't who he is. I already made this mistake once before. Tadashi wouldn't want there to be a Baymax that hurts people. Sora, he has to be stopped.
Okay, help Gogo and the others. You can leave this guy to us.
Thank you.
from Final Fantasy VI.
Oh no!
Sora, take Baymax.
Okay, Baymax!
I am ready, Sora.
What?
Yeah, I needed that. My God.
Understood. Certainly.
Guys. Hero.
So, did we stop him?
Safety mode kicks in if he's put under too much stress. So he's probably just in stasis. We'll have to destroy the chip if we want to be certain.
But... are you sure?
Yeah, dude. You don't need to go that far.
Maybe we can find another way.
Mm-mm. It's the right thing to do. Tadashi would have done the same thing.
But Hero, isn't that Baymax's heart?
It's okay. Baymax is here. I should be the one. Ow?
Hello, I am Baymax, your personal healthcare companion.
This is great!
Yeah, thanks.
So, do you think I could take one of them with me?
No.
Come on!
No, and who's gonna repair him?
Just one of them!
Yeah.
Come on, please!
He's my personal healthcare companion?
If you are injured during battle, try to get yourself to safety until help arrives. Sora, take care to avoid injuries. By fighting as part of a team, you will reduce your risk of injury. Sora, by fighting...
Good.
Hey, Sora. Heading into the city? Hey, Sora.
You can visit during the day or at night.
That was...
Another thing that I'm going to do either in this episode or possibly in the next one, depending on how long this ends up being, because this Big Hero 6 world is all about technology, and they're in the big city, and they have Baymax, who's like the robot that the main character of Big Hero 6's brother built, and so that's why I saved the PC thing for the, kind of relevant, like I built a computer thing too. But I have saved some of the RPG Maker games that I made when I was a teenager. You make it on the computer, of course.
Oh, you gotta show some of those?
Yeah, because Jamison and I were both into RPG Maker, and we were both making games at the same time. Man, at that point I was like 14 or 15. He would have been 9, 10.
Wow.
But yeah, we were both making games with RPG Maker and learning how to use it and looking up tutorials on how to make like a custom menu system and all that stuff. Custom battle system as well, although we never made a custom battle system because that takes forever and it's just not really worth it. The battle system of RPG Maker 2000 is like, you don't see your character sprites, you just see a front view and like still images of the enemies, and It's not that great.
Yeah.
So people would like make their own battle systems just using variables and stuff built into the program, but it took forever and it's not worth it. And then like later versions of the program ended up giving the option to have cooler looking battle layouts anyway. Looks more like Final Fantasy VI or something. Yeah, we made some games. I don't think I have any of his games saved, unfortunately. I have to double check. If I do, I'm gonna show them. But the first game that I made, and keep in mind I was like 14 I think when I started this, it was just about me and my friends and family like going on an RPG adventure and fighting evil things and saving the world. And I just used the character sprites that came packaged with RPG Maker. My guy, who was supposed to be me, was like some generic looking anime spiky haired kid with like a white headband. It was Alex. He's the default hero for RPG Maker 2000, if you know who that is. I don't know how into the RPG Maker 2000 scene you were back in the early 2000s. A lot of creativity came out of that scene. Jamison and I never really finished any projects, really. My first game or two that I made, he was in them. His sprite was like a purple-haired, angry-looking guy. And then later on I used a sprite, like there was a plot thing where he got taken by... No, I got taken by goblins in the throne room or something. And Jamison had to escape through the sewers, and then later on the action moves back to me and I continue with the plot, and then later meet up with Jamison in a forest where he's become this like cool badass like forest warrior with a bow and arrow or something. I forget exactly how this played out. So I had to replay part of my game to get my story straight here. At some point in the story we're in the woods and we meet a tent full of strangers. One of them asks Jamison to stay behind with them and train in archery. And I'm like, yeah, that might be a good idea, Jamison. These strangers in the woods seem pretty nice and it might help our quest if you get good at archery. So Jamison stays with them and trains and leaves the party for a while. At this point in the story, we're looking for one of our friends, so we all go off on these separate mini-adventures to try and find her. One of these mini-adventures is Elisa and Travis going into a goblin hideout. They get imprisoned, break out of prison through a tunnel, but then the tunnel caves in on them. Around this time, Jamison finishes his training. He's now a cool forest warrior guy with a bow. Senses that something is wrong, goes to the goblin hideout, goes in and fights through, and he ends up saving Elisa and Travis. From that point on, he joins the main cast again, and he looks like this for the rest of the game. He and I played each other's stuff. We looked at each other's unfinished games all the time. I remember when he got to that part in my game, he was really excited. He was laughing pretty high-pitched. I think he was happy to be the hero, be in the spotlight of that moment. And it turns out the sprite I was using for him at that point, because he looked different, I think was like someone's custom X-Men sprite, like one of the X-Men or something. I don't know who it was, but I think it was X-Men, but I didn't know it was X-Men because I never watched the movies or anything. Jamison downloaded some games for RPG Maker. He and I both got into Legion Saga by Kamau, K-A-M-A-U. And that guy, I think, later ended up getting a job with IGN or something, which is interesting. So his game stuff paid off. Yeah, we played the Legion Saga games together, 1, 2, and 3. I remember at one part in Legion Saga 2, there was a story element where the main character reveals that, or there's like a flashback to like how the main character... Alright, I'm gonna pause this real quick and say spoilers incoming for Legion Saga 2, a huge plot spoiler. I know probably no one watching this video is going to go find the game and play it, but if any of what I'm saying here has made you at all interested in the old RPG Maker games from back in the day, the Legion Saga series is one that I would highly recommend, and I don't want to spoil it without a warning, so there you go. remember at one part in Legion Saga 2 there was a story element where the main character reveals that, or there's like a flashback to like how the main character was conceived, and it was like this evil Kaiser Granstam who he kills at the beginning of the game. In the flashback you see why he killed him. Kaiser Granstam like rapes his mother, and that you don't see it happen, but you see like the events leading up to it where he's like complimenting her and then he throws her on the floor and is like, don't move, nobody moves, nobody gets hurt, which was kind of a weird line for a medieval RPG.
Yeah.
It cuts back to the main character telling his friends what happened and all that, and he was like, Kaiser Granstam raped her. And I thought Jamison was still like 9 or 10. I thought he was too young to see that, so I went into the game's files with the program and I changed it to killed, which doesn't really explain anything, so it's like...
Wow.
So then it is just like...
Does she ever show up later?
No, she's dead.
Oh, okay.
She's dead by that point, I think. But it's like, Kaiser Granstam killed her, which doesn't explain anything, so it's like telling a tragic backstory, like this man killed my mother, but it's not really what the scene was trying to convey, but I was like, Jamison doesn't need to read this. So I knew he hadn't gotten to that point in the game yet, so I changed, and I always wondered if he knew I changed it, because he knew that I could open games in the program, like other people's games and stuff. Sorry, Kamal, that I messed with the artistic integrity of your game. I didn't put it on the internet and redistribute it, I just changed it so my little brother could enjoy.
Couldn't read the word rape.
Yeah, even though there's a lot of like murder and people getting their heads cut off in that game, it's all sprites, so it's not realistic looking.
Right.
Whole lot of image editing back then. That's how I kind of learned how to use Microsoft Paint and stuff, even though I should have been learning like Photoshop or like GIMP or something. Spent a whole lot of time editing images. I would like rip monster sprites and character sprites from like ROMs. I would like get a Super NES ROM, Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger. So many Chrono Trigger bosses and enemies. I would take a screenshot of the screen they were on and then like slowly, painstakingly color all the pixels around them that were not them green to make it the transparent color, so then I could use the monster sprites in my games. Turns out most emulators, or at least the one I was using, actually had an option to disable different layers of image, like the background stuff, so I could have very quickly and easily captured whatever I wanted. But I didn't know that, so I spent hours. I wonder what other inefficient things I'm doing still. But, man. I didn't realize how gargantuan of a topic this actually was until I like sat down and got into it.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about here. Jamison did that stuff too. We did tons of image editing. We would do this thing where like RPG Maker 2003 would play MP3s, but RPG Maker 2000 would only play MIDIs and waves. And so what we would do, we learned how to take an MP3. And granted, MP3 was a big deal. We had like 56K modem, so downloads were slow.
Yeah. And
you couldn't use the phone while you were on the internet. And our storage space for our entire PC that we had at our home was like 16 gigs or something.
Yeah.
So not actually a lot of space for MP3s when you think about all the other stuff on the computer. Certainly didn't have like movie video files. Like I would download anime and watch it and then delete it.
Because it takes up so much space.
Yeah, use LimeWire to download episodes of Fruits Basket and Chrono Crusades. I probably shouldn't be talking about this on the video. They're gonna arrest me. I might actually not include this part, but I don't know what they can do. I just named specific shows that I like illegally pirated.
I mean, everyone knows that people do that.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't use LimeWire anymore, I'm sure.
Yeah, but so we would take MP3s and we would convert them to waves, but the wave files would be huge because waves are like just big and stupid. So then we would take the wave and in another program make it 2 times the speed to make it half the length to reduce the file size. Then put it in the music folder for an RPG Maker file, and then in the game, because RPG Maker, the program, has the option to play it at half speed. So we would speed up the actual base file to make it a smaller file, and then play it at half speed in the program to make it sound normal. But it sounded garbled and terrible.
But you keep it in?
Because we like diminished the quality a certain way. We would like save the file. I don't remember exactly what all we did, but yeah, we keep it in because at the time it's like and like other people did this as well. Like it was not uncommon to see WAV files used similarly in other people's games that you downloaded from like the websites that hosted these things. So yeah, it sounded pretty garbage and certainly not up to the standards of today's indie games.
Alright.
But it was better than MIDI's, kind of. Like if you had a specific song you wanted to sound a specific way. Some people would save it. So my favorite game ever is actually an RPG Maker game called 3 the Hard Way. And the final, nowhere else in the game, the whole game uses MIDIs, but the final boss theme uses a wave. I don't know what it's from, I've always wanted to know. But yeah, so like some games would save the waves for like the opening cinematic, even though it's just a bunch of sprites and like panning across pictures, but they would save the wave for like the opening or the ending maybe, or like the final battle or something, just like a really special moment in the game. And so when a wave kicks in and you can hear that sound quality like this isn't a MIDI, you're like, oh, this is a big deal. I'm hearing this extremely compressed low quality sound file. Things are getting serious. A note on 3 the Hard Way, that's a game that I would not have known about were not for Jamison. He and I were both into this stuff at the same time and downloading stuff and just trying it out. He downloaded 3 the Hard Way, and I saw him playing the beginning of it and thought it was really weird because it was using this weird boisterous jazz music in a scene with like this knight facing off against a witch who turned out to be his sister at the top of a mountain, and is playing really weird music. And I was like, this game is weird. And then I always thought of that game as like that weird game that I saw Jamison playing, just one of those weird games he downloaded that I haven't tried yet. And he abandoned that game. He didn't get very far in it at all. But when I ended up playing it, I got hooked, and then it got better and better and opened up, and that game is amazing and I love it. I've actually gotten in touch with the creator and just told him how much I love it. I've played it a few times. I might know more about that game than anyone else on the planet except for the guy who made it. I've dug so deep into the lore of it and stuff, but this video is not about that game, but thank you, Jamison, for downloading that game. I love 3 the Hard Way. It kind of like changed how I look at storytelling. It was really fantastic. It's a shame that nothing is ever going to come of it again, probably. I asked the guy, when I got in touch with him, I asked him if I could like adapt it into a novel, like if he'd be opposed to that. And he was like, sorry, I have my own plans for the series and the larger story that it's a part of, so I can't let anyone else mess with it. And I was like, okay. But
has he done anything since then?
No, he was working on a follow-up game. Not quite a sequel, it's like a sequel kind of, but it's about different characters in a different part of the world. But he was working on it. It was called The Queen's Court. The guy's name is Shinran, like I Shinran, I think from like Dragon Ball GT or something. But he was working on it for years and years, and that's one of the things I asked him when I messaged him, and he was like, I'm still plugging along at it. I'm in it for the long haul and I'll get it done. He said last year was kind of a dead year, but overall this has been a growing experience for me and I will finish it. But the website for it, thequeenscourt.org, I don't know if it's up now, but at some point it finally went down after having not been updated since 2009. I kind of don't think he actually is going to finish it, unfortunately. Some of the best RPG Maker things, like there was a fantastic one called A Blurred Line by Lysander 86. I haven't read A Midsummer Night's Dream, so I don't know how to say that character's name, but A Blurred Line, he never finished the third part of it. There was a really awesome trailer for the third part of it. There were a lot of mysteries left unanswered, but never finished it. Jamison played that. Yeah, Jamison played a little of 3 the Hard Way, but never finished. Man, this is a huge topic.
That's kind of the interesting thing about those kinds of games, because they're not like, I'm assuming they weren't getting paid for doing that stuff.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because like, RPG Maker's still going pretty strong, and you can find like hundreds of RPG Maker games on Steam, whereas like people are, the creators, you know, actually like, I guess get money for these games they make.
Oh yeah,
using RPG Maker.
One kind of nice story is a game I remember being talked about back in that period was called Arafel, or Arif, I think it's Arafel, and he just kind of dropped off the face of the planet like they all do. But he actually came back years later and finished it and released it on Steam. and it's done, and I have it. I haven't played it yet, but like it's really encouraging. Like this is a thing I remember from my teen years, and a guy finished it like years later, like into his adulthood. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard about RPG Maker was through a podcast I listened to. It covered like the games industry, and at the end they would go through releases, like what's getting released this week. They'd go through the list, and they'd also show like the Steam page or something, if it was on Steam. And 9 times out of 10, there'd just be like a ton of just RPG Maker games, just a huge amount of them. So I kind of got a bad impression of RPG Maker when I first heard about it, because it's just people are just like making these like probably just like really low quality RPGs, throwing them on Steam, trying to make a quick buck or something. Yeah, listen to your stories about it.
Prior to it going like mainstream-ish, it was just a fun creative outlet for me and Jamison.
Yeah.
A very common thing, there was a site called vgmusic.org. People would sequence MIDIs from video games and upload them to that site. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of video game MIDIs from all different games, all different platforms. And it was a fantastic resource. So you'd find a lot of, the common thing was for people to like put Final Fantasy music and stuff in their games, of course.
Right.
I did that as well. I used a lot of, I think the main battle theme for my first RPG was just the Final Fantasy VII battle theme. The boss theme was the 7 boss theme then. So, because people use music they like, eventually I tried to branch out and like use other stuff, especially after playing through the hard way, because he actually didn't use like much RPG music at all. He had a weird blend of like R&B midis, like he had like Nice and Slow by Usher plays in like a magic forest where like a sacred sword is sealed away. And that was my first exposure to that song. But I knew what kind of music it was. You could tell it was R&B just from like how it sounded, but it was a MIDI. Yeah, like Me and Mrs. Jones plays in one of the first forests of the game. Some music by the Beatles, like so a lot of songs that like, I guess I wasn't very cultured when I was young and I had never heard them before. Michelle by the Beatles, I first heard through the hard way. And I would like hum it to myself, or I would play it while my mom was in the room because I liked the MIDI. And my mom would like start singing along to it, and I was like, "You know this song?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's by the Beatles." Stevie Wonder, was it Mi Chérie Amour? Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, a lot of like R&B, a lot of like music from like Latin America, and a lot of anime music, like Cardcaptor Sakura background music, anime openings, Haunted Junction. I wouldn't know that anime exists if not for like one of the songs being in a really pivotal moment of Through the Hard Way. The opening song. The opening of Through the Hard Way, and also the main theme for the main character is it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Yeah. For like this RPG about like saving the kingdom. It's like the main character is the son of a bartender, and I'm getting sidetracked. I'm not making a video about this game, but through the hard way I heard so many songs that like years and years and years of my life later, even now, I'll be somewhere and hear a song and be like, oh, that's from Through the Hard Way. It's not from Through the Hard Way.
That's just where you
from
heard
the artist. But like Through the Hard Way was this big collection of like, yeah, it introduced so many like, that is my context for this song. So when I hear the song, I think of like, I hear Nice and Slow by Usher. I've sung that a few times in Noraebang, the karaoke rooms in Korea. My first exposure and what I still think of to some extent is like going through the woods with my party with these characters that like I loved and stuff. Regulate by Warren G plays in like one of the main cities, like in one of the cities where you think you're near the end of the game, you're about to fight what you think is the main, like the last boss, and the game keeps going, but Regulate by Warren G plays in the city of Dillon. I think I was at like one of the dances at my high school, or it might have been prom. No, it wasn't prom, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Heard some music there. Why You Wanna by T.I. No, never mind. That's not. Never mind. Okay, doesn't matter. But a lot of My point is, a lot of RPG Maker games introduced me to music I hadn't heard before. Before I ever played Chrono Cross, before I ever played Xenogears. I say Xenogears. Before I ever played Xenogears, before I ever played Chrono Cross, I heard music from those games and RPG Maker games. There was a game, I've used a lot of Chrono Cross music in this tribute series, and I didn't know it was from Chrono Cross. I first heard it in an RPG Maker game called The Legacy of Fafnir, that Jamison, I think, was the one who downloaded that. I don't think you can, some of them you can still find, or at least you could a few years ago, but that one I haven't been able to find, so I'll probably never play that again. But the overworld theme for that was one of the songs from Chrono Cross that I've played a few times. Jamison really liked that song, and he like played it for our neighbors when they came over, and just like wanted to play it while we were hanging out. And like one of the town themes from that game is the town theme from Chrono Cross, and I've used both of those a few times. A note on the music of this series. I've used a lot of game music, obviously. I try to use music that Jamison liked that I also think fits the part of the video. So if it seems a little bit on the nose or cheesy or overly emotional, like, yeah, I know. But A, this is my tribute series. I make however I want. And no one's forced me to watch it. And B, like, I'm trying to keep it, it's a tribute to Jamison, so it should be stuff that was in some way significant to me and him. There are some songs I use that he never heard that I'm pretty sure, or know he never heard, but it's my tribute series. I make it however I want.
I was kind of surprised. There's a track from Alundra that you said you had heard from an RPG Maker game.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That was in Kindred Saga. It was the thing about Kindred Saga. A lot of people, the MIDI files they used in their RPG Maker games, they just kept them whatever the uploader had named the MIDI, like something.mid. And that's why it's like hard to tell what a lot of them even are, what they're from. My friend Sam Winters, who composed the JRB song for this tribute series, he and I both love Through the Hard Way, and he like used his MIDI editing software to open up some of the MIDI files and look at like the info contained in them, like the publishing info or whatever.
Right.
He was able to find out what some of them were from, which was really cool, and he and I helped contribute to a playlist that some other guy on YouTube was making of Through the Hard Way music. One of my proudest achievements. Anyway, this is one of those obscure community cult following type things that most people will never know about, but like to the nth degree. Like very few people are ever going to play Through the Hard Way. But anyway, but we didn't know what a lot of them were. It would just be like a weird vague file name. But the Kindred Saga guy, sometimes you could know what it was because the file name was up the same. But the guy who made Kindred Saga, which had its own custom battle system, was really cool. He renamed every single file to like KS hyphen and then like some name for like what the track would be called if his game had an official soundtrack.
Right.
Obviously none of these games can ever be sold because they're just blatantly stealing like graphics and music and everything, sound effects from other games. RPG Maker has like a runtime package and it like has a bunch of built-in resources like graphics and stuff you can use, but people would also make and import all sorts of like chipsets. You could have like a town that it was like the assets were ripped from like Earthbound, so it's like you're walking around like 2 Center 3'd from Earthbound or whatever.
Right.
Tons of stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, Kindred Saga guy renamed all of his MIDI files, so no one's gonna watch this. This is so specific and technical. It doesn't matter, it's a tribute to Jamison. Jamison would understand it.
That's right.
My own mother's probably stopped watching this. They're just like, what is all this? But Jamison would get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he renamed all of his MIDI files. That song was called KS-Floating. And so I was like, I have no idea what this is from. You renamed all your tracks. And I guess it was from Alundra. And I found this out
because I was playing some of the music from it because I was like, I really love the music from Alundra. It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how I like just like the sound of the music from like that era, like the PS1 era.
PS1, yeah, it's beautiful. It's got its own kind of beauty to it.
Yeah.
The synthesized like flutes and what I guess is supposed to pass as like a a violin maybe and all
Yeah.
this stuff. Like it's gorgeous if you're familiar with it. It like harkens back to a simpler time.
I don't know. Yeah, it's
Or
like I don't know
everything
what
was
it is about it. It's just like it's comforting.
Yeah, PS1, it was really like the Xenogears music. That music is so good. There have been orchestrated soundtracks re-released years later. Some done in like a Celtic style, which is gorgeous. Some done in just like a classical orchestrated style, which is also gorgeous. But nothing beats the PS1 synthesized tracks.
Yeah.
There's like that's true with graphics as well. Like limitations of the time actually contributed to like styles.
Yeah.
Like pixel art styles and stuff, and it's got its own kind of beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm nostalgic about all this. But yeah, thanks to Bobby, like I don't know how many years of my life later, because I was probably 14 or 15 when I was messing around with Kindred Saga. And then at the age of 30 or 31 or 32, something like that, I hear that track that I never knew what it was because Bobby's playing Alundra music in his room, and I'm just like...
Yeah, no, I was like right here in your room.
Oh, you were in my room?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All
And you were like, whoa. You're like, oh my god. I'm like, what? You're like, I've heard this. That's funny.
I first heard The Girl from Ipanema because of 3 the Hard Way. Dun, 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 dun,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I realize it seems like I haven't been talking much about Jamison here. I've just been talking about the computer I built and then these RPG Maker games and all that, but it's just, you can't appreciate how much time he and I spent on that, doing that, making those, just messing around with the program, learning the program, trying stuff out. He would test my games, I would test his. We'd have this thing where like you never know, like RPGs have a thing where like there's a pot in a house and maybe there's an item in it, maybe there's not, but you gotta go like press A on it to check, or on the keyboard it was like press Z because Z was confirm, X was cancel, and so like as soon as Jamison would boot up my game, I'd be like, hey, I made some more, why don't you test it out, why don't you play it? And so he would start playing it. He would go up to every like
container,
every possible thing that might have an item in it, and like he would just like methodically go up to it, and from every possible angle, like from facing it from below, facing it from the left, facing it from the top, facing it from the right, just press X to like everything in the room. He would just like clean out rooms, like make sure he didn't miss anything. Without even asking me, he would just like get to it because it was just understood. It's like, it's not even fun, but like this is what we thought RPGs were back then. He made a game where it was like some samurai guy, because he was kind of into samurai for a while, and like, or an assassin or something, kills a guy, and then he's like, I killed a man. And it's like this turning point moment because Jamison's young child mind understood that from like stuff he'd probably, I think we'd been watching Rurouni Kenshin on Cartoon Network and stuff on Toonami, and so he understood like killing a man for the first time is like a character growth moment for somebody.
It's a big deal.
And he made some game. It was like at this point he had gotten into Metal Gear Solid, which I need to go try that sometime. Just I try to try things that like he liked to feel like closer to him, kind of
to kind of understand
him, or at least understand where he was in that at that point in his life, the kinds of things he was thinking about and might have liked. I know he was into Metal Gear Solid, so like for his games, he started adding himself and his friend Andrew, Sam's younger brother, as like they were the characters in the games he was making, and he put them in like army uniforms. Even though my brother as a child was not in the military, obviously. But he'd put him and Andrew in like camouflage, like soldier outfits because he had been playing Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater, which had that kind of thing going. And there was like a scene at the beginning, he was like combining his two loves, like ninja, assassin, like samurai stuff with Metal Gear Solid.
Some of that stuff's in Metal Gear.
Is it okay?
Yeah, because like
oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But he like had the opening cutscene of his game that I'm not sure I was supposed to see, but I checked it out and saw it. Like his sprite, his little guy was like running, and then it like paused because you can't have like sprite action going on while a text box is on the screen, or at least you can, but I think maybe we didn't know how to do it yet. So it's like his sprite was running, and it's supposed to be like an opening sequence. It's playing the Metal Gear Solid 2 theme. It's like da na 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 na, and then it would stop, and it would like show a text box that would like say one of the opening credits, and it's like creator Jamison back on or something, and then he like the text box would go away, and he would keep running, and then it would like show another text box, and he would stop again.
It would just pause all the time.
And it was like, program RPG Maker 2000, which like anyone who's playing this game is gonna know, because the only people playing this game are gonna download it from an RPG Maker site. But it's just like he wanted to have opening credits to his game.
Yeah, because that's what Hideo Kojima did. Hideo Kojima did with the openings of his games. They're very cinematic. Like he has the opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jamison was trying to.
He's very inspired.
Jamison was definitely inspired by Metal Gear Solid, and then there was a part where. After a few of the opening credits, another text box appeared, and it was like, live by honor, and then it went away, and then Jameson kept running, or his sprite, probably Jameson, his character, kept running, and then another text box appeared, and it was like, kill by stealth. And I remember reading that at the time and thought, that second one there isn't really like a philosophy thing, it's just, like stealth isn't a philosophy.
Right.
It's just a method, so I don't know what you're getting at. But it turns out, I think he stole that from something. I found out like this past year, I saw that somewhere else on like an official product. So I think he actually borrowed Live by Honor, Kill by Stealth. Gear. Possibly.
Yeah.
Live by Honor, Kill by Stealth, but his was applied to like some assassin with a sword kind of game that he was making.
Oh. I don't know, was it maybe like Tenchu or something?
It might have been Tenchu. Yeah, I think he might have borrowed that from Tenchu. That sounds... I remember I looked into Tenchu when the From Software... We didn't know it was Sekiro yet. And some people were thinking it was a new Tenchu game. So, anyway, it might have been that. Yeah, Jamison made that kind of stuff, and I hope I have some of his stuff saved, but I don't think I do. Because our computer died, and I'm lucky to even have saved my own games. Like, they were just still there for some reason on the hard drive. And then I made the games about, it was all one story, but it was like 3 parts, because I didn't know how to extend the number of variables and switches in the system, so I thought I had to make a new game every time I filled up the switches. Oh. So it was like, the game was called Project Us, because it was just like me and my friends. It was Project Us Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 3 I never finished, but I made that, and I never finished Part 3, and then I made one called The Kenny Game, and I put a lot of hard work into that. Oh, well, before that I made Interquest, which I also didn't finish, but it was about the exploits of me and my internet friends on the internet. And then I made The Kenny Game, and it was about my friend Kenny. And it was actually called The Kenny Game, but I think later I was going to title it Elodious, Where Nowhere Begins, and I had all these creative ideas for it and stuff, but it was actually probably really bad, but like I was 16, and so this was like my RPG Maker magnum opus. Yeah. I never finished it. It was like instead of using the base sprites, I actually like edited sprites that looked like me and my friend Kenny, and like the one that looks like me is actually like pretty cool looking. Like I like it. I've used RPG Maker. We're at an hour. Good grief. I've used RPG Maker to make like an English learning game for my students.
Oh right, yeah.
Like 4 years ago, like almost 4 years ago.
When you first started?
It was like my second semester. I got RPG Maker and I realized I could make an English learning game that the kids would enjoy. So I put in like my face and the faces of other Korean teachers they would know, like my co-teacher, Yukyang was the main character, and also 2 other teachers that the students at that time would recognize, because I was still new, so the kids who like the teachers who had been at the school before me, the kids also knew and remembered them, so they were in the game. And I was like all excited about it, but then one thing I didn't really think about how I was going to implement it. Like RPG Maker is one player.
Yeah.
So I ended up using it just to like, if a kid wanted extra practice with English, and I think like 3 kids ended up playing it, messing around with it. But it was fun to make. Did some creative stuff with it. I could go on and on about this, but man, RPG Maker. That was like a time in my life. That was a good, because that stretched from like 14 to like 17, where I was big into RPG Maker. Like I remember I was in 8th grade using it, I was in 9th grade, I was in 10th grade.
It was a phase.
It was, yeah. And then even into adulthood, like when I was in college, I got back into it and started working on some stuff again, which didn't last too long because my laptop died, and I lost all the work I'd done. There was another game series that was actually finished, and it was, aside from Through the Hard Way, it was my favorite RPG Maker series I played, called The Way, by Luke Watschultz. Luke Watschultz, by the way, has since helped develop a game that's on Steam called Shadows of Adam, which I'm probably not going to play because it looks just like a generic RPG that I'm not really into, but it does have a cameo from one of the original characters from The Way, which is interesting, Trazian. But The Way, it was great, but it had some awkward line breaks because the version of RPG Maker he was using, when you're editing the text in the text boxes for the messages that pop up, where the line is that shows where the text cuts off, the line was in the wrong spot, so you actually kind of have to guess. We have to like count the characters. So I went in and painstakingly redid every line of dialogue in every part of his series to make it like just look nicer and more readable in the box. And I told him about that, and he was like, yeah, I'll update the games if you finish this and give you credit. Thank you for helping like perfect. By this point the games are like old because the last part was released in like 06 and I was doing this in like 2009 or something. 2010 maybe. But my laptop died. I lost all the work. Lost every bit of it. And then later on, after I moved to Seattle, I did it again. And then, due to some weird glitch in the program, it reset a lot of my work. And so I messaged him and I was just like, man, I've really tried. And this stuff keeps happening. And he was just like, don't worry about it. It's probably not meant to be. But I don't think Jamison played The Way. I'm sure he knew about it. I can't, I've said this before, but like, I can't ever, along with the obvious, like, you know, I can't see my brother again, you can't ask him stuff like this, like, hey, have you ever seen this movie? Like, I wonder if he ever watched this movie. I will never know. Like, I'll never know if he ever played this, you know, little things that you don't really think about. And that's not like the most important element of having lost my brother, of course, but it's just a little thing you don't really think about until you can't ask casual little questions like that anymore. Well, I wonder if hey Jameson, you remember that game? No, I can't ask him that.
It kind of makes me think of like, you know, our elders and stuff who have lived through
oh yeah, the wealth of knowledge. I think about my grandfather and his dad. I don't know much about my grandfather, like, on either side really, aside from like the wars they fought in, and like other stuff here and there. I certainly don't know about their parents, and I think about like the family history that like my dad probably knows some of it, and I need to like get it from my dad before like eventually, you know, my dad passes away at some point, which I don't like to think about, but someday everyone's gonna die someday, and like this knowledge will be lost forever.
I mean,
think about eras of humanity.
It's like, instead of like, we've got like things in books, you know, but it's like there's something different and more personal about like having a family member or something that like lived through it and is there in front of you. Or like knows, you know, family members that lived through things.
I wonder if all goes well with YouTube, I hope like the videos I make, eventually the sun's gonna expand and just wipe out everything all humans have ever made, I guess, unless we can like hightail it to another galaxy with all of our stuff in tow. But I hope my videos persist for a good long while, even after I die, even if no one watches them in some dusty corner of the internet. Like, I hope YouTube doesn't eventually do some sweeping purge of, like, content that they deem is just pointless. I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
I don't see that happening. But YouTube has made changes that have just, like,
people won't see the video unless
made it worse.
No, yeah. No, I know. I mean, I know that this is just kind of like a family photo album type thing.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, like, we die, and also everyone who knew us also dies, and then it's kind of like we're lost to history. Like, you think about, like, 300 years ago, there's, like, famous people who did stuff that is, like, stayed in history, but a lot of families and just people going about their lives that there's no record of them, no one knows them, no one knows of them. They just were there and now they're not. And we know that, like, there were people there, but we don't know who they were, anything about them. And most of us are just gonna be lost to just the mists of time. Like, sounds dramatic, but just hopefully these videos persist. Not that it helps anything or does anything, but just hopefully these, I guess people just want to cling to some form of existence.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sad to think about Blip completely gone.
Yeah.
Well, this took a little bit of a turn from video game stuff.
Existential crisis.
So I'm gonna probably have to trim this into a few different parts, like one part to talk about my computer and the recording process, one part to talk about RPG Maker, one part to show the games. Maybe I'll just, I'm not gonna show the whole game, maybe I'll just show footage of the game, like, while we're sitting here talking about it. Yeah, I don't need to take up too much of this tribute with this stuff. Oh. Guess I'll show some footage of my station over here. Everything is always this clean and tidy, by the way, definitely. My desk and everything, it's always this empty, it's always this...
Yeah, there's definitely not anything ever on it.
I didn't have to scramble to get it presentable before I recorded this. Should probably end this video. If you actually watched all of this...
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. If you didn't, whatever, I don't regret making it this way. I think this is the truest, most earnest expression that I could give in a tribute to my brother, in the sense that, like, I'm foregoing accessibility for other people in the interest of just cramming it full of, like, details and memories that other people won't care about, but that, like, here you go, Jamison. So, at least that's what I tell myself. Maybe I just need to learn the art of picking and choosing. I don't know. No, for this tribute series, I'm doing what I want.
Yeah.
If I ever decide to make other stuff that is geared towards people consuming it, then obviously I'll approach it differently. But this is for Jamison. Okay. I never know. It's probably in the video now. Bye. It's a really nice day. It's a little too nice. It was really hard to find a place where people weren't everywhere talking to record this. Wish I could have shown Jamison cherry blossom season in South Korea, springtime.